is going to be 2nd and 8. They are now down on the 20-yard line of Leominster. They started this drive on their own 20. Hudson did. The Hawks. Percuoco. There, his first pass of the game. It is complete. That is Mike Jenkins over the middle. To see it. We'll see it again.
Here's Percuoco. A little slant in. Just a diagonal cut by Jenkins. He had the linebacker beat.
Yeah, now that's what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just gotta fire it up and you gotta be ready for some action. You know, it was December 5th, 1982. It was a beautiful morning here in Hudson, Massachusetts, and me and about 35 of my best friends in the world, the Hudson High School football team, Division I, we're heading up to Holy Cross College to play the Division I Super Bowl against the Leominster Blue Devils. Wow, what a day that was. Absolutely unbelievable. There were so many people there from Hudson and Leominster that at times you couldn't even hear to talk to the guy next to you. It was such an amazing day, and I want to tell you something about that took me years to understand the importance of that day in my life. So, first and foremost, we're going up against this team, Leominster, who is undeniably probably the best high school football team in all of New England. And although we were not intimidated by them, they certainly had the nod as far as all the prognosticators were concerned that they should mop up Hudson in no time at all. So it was interesting. Like, I remember I was a captain of the football team and the quarterback at that time, and I was at the front of all the other guys during the calisthenic portion of the warm-up before the game, and the Leominster guys came out, and they were just larger than life, of course, undefeated, had just gotten off, beaten Brockton. They were pretty much the belle of the ball. And I remember there are the captains coming up towards us as captains and standing over us while I was actually on the ground, stretching out my hamstrings and taunting us. You know, that kind of, I'll look you in the eye and I'll pump myself up and we're gonna crush you like a bug. Total sportsmanship, I get it. It certainly fired up my team and their team, and we headed into a serious battle. And this battle was spoken of by both coaches and most of the people covering the game for the news as perhaps one of the best high school football games they ever saw because of the level of the talent. So as this game wears on, we're losing 26-14. And Leominster is starting to have their way a little bit because they have two-way players. They've got 22 guys to play 22 positions, and they're all phenomenal athletes. Hudson only has 13. So we've got a lot of guys playing both directions, and you know, it's not going to be easy. But of course, in the first half, we are fired up, and we're playing at our potential, and so are they. We played to a 14-14 tie at halftime, and then we lose a little in the second half. We wind up down to that score of 26-14. But it doesn't stay there for long. I remember I used to call the plays. I was the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. I remember stepping into the huddle and just looking at the guys, looking back at me looking at them. And that right there, I mean, that's what I miss about football altogether. You know, it's just that desire to be there and to put it all on the line for your teammates, to take a bullet for them because you know they're going to take one for you. Sure, I wanted to win for the town of Hudson. Sure, I wanted to win for the coaches. Sure, I wanted to win for my family. But it didn't ever match the feeling that I got to play ball with those guys. I had given my life to them and them for me. And I remember stepping into the huddle late in the third quarter. And I looked at my fullback and my best friend in life, Dave Hunter, he's probably watching this now. I said, Hunts, Let's run that counter trap up inside. Let's make this one go. And I remember all the other guys in the huddle fired up. Come on, let's go. We've got to pick up the slack. And I got to tell you, I'm going to show you the video of this this final play at the end of this segment. But I remember in that one moment, just that one moment, that one play, we were perfect as a team. In that moment, every single guy did his job at the highest level. I went back and I watched that footage over and over and over, and I saw 11 guys committed to each other at 1,000%. I saw on the other side 11 guys committed to stopping us the best they could. And in that moment, it was, it was man against man, smashing in there, and it's all pure will and desire. And as you'll see at the end, we wind up scoring. It is still, in my estimation, probably the greatest high school play that I've ever been associated with. And as you'll see in the video, Mike Nenardowicz making the block downfield, still the greatest block I've ever seen, ever. Ever. Absolutely amazing. So, what happened? What was the outcome, Pete? Well, there were a few other absolutely amazing moments, and if I had more time, I'd tell you, but the Hudson crowd, the Leominster crowd, the Leominster team, everybody, like blood was coming from our eyes. What a game. As it turns out, we don't have enough gas in the tank to run a full 4 quarters. And we wind up coming up short, and Leominster wins the game. And I remember going home, crushed that our moment of glory didn't happen. And it stuck with me for a lot of years. I didn't want to see it in my mind. I didn't want to talk about it. It was pretty hard. It was a painful time in my life. And same with the other guys. Let's fast forward 30 years. I'm at a funeral or a wake for a friend of mine's dad who passed, Bill Sullivan. His son, Peter Sullivan, was the right tackle on my offensive line. And he was there that day for that big, painful loss. So he had introduced me to his son when I was at this wake for his dad. His son is a high school kid, and he says, this is Dr. Percuoco. He was the quarterback for our football team when we played against Leominster and Marlboro and Milford, named all them off. He says, but I still can't to this day get myself to even talk about that Super Bowl. And I remember saying to him, and it just started to come to me. I said, why not? And he goes, it's too painful. I just can't deal with it. That loss was just one of the worst moments in my life. And as I sat and I really thought about it, and that moment with Pete and his son, it really started to register with me at that moment, all these years later, just how fortunate we were that day. How do you see that? Like this. When that game was over, that team that stepped onto the field to taunt us, to really rub it at us that they were going to crush us, had found a renewed sense of humility and respect. And respect is the key. That's the key word right here. Actually, both are key words, humility and respect. But respect was the key. You see, what I learned many years later with a greater sense of awareness or wisdom, I guess, was that on that day, those guys after the game put their arms around us and we came together in fellowship. I kind of forgot that. And they picked us up and dusted us off and made sure that we understood that they were scared to death of losing that game once it became tied at 14-14. And they gave more effort than they could have ever given, more so than what it took to beat Brockton. And why was that? Because they played against another team who had the fire that they had. We pushed them to the ultimate level as they pushed us. Men came together on that day. Young men, 17, 18 years old. What they didn't know is they were forging a memory for their lifetime, the foundation for who they would become in the future. And looking back now, what I gained on that day was a level of respect for the effort that I put out, and all my teammates as well. It really didn't matter whether we won or lost. In the grand scheme of life, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is how much we care for each other and take care of each other. When you're on the field, when you're in the office, when you're at home, you gotta resonate around that respect and understand that when you give it your all and you respect your adversary, that's what they need to carry them through a lifetime. That's what I needed to get through that time. And now when I think back to those days, I think fondly of the respect that my adversary gave to me on that day, that we brought the best out in them. And they really actually said those words. We really respect you guys for the energy and the effort that you put in. Unfortunately, I was young and I missed those, the meaning of those words, but today it's completely different. And I hope Pete's watching today too. He understands that you gave it everything you could give. You only had 13 guys to play every position. They had 22. It was tied at halftime at 14-14. We came back in the third quarter late with that amazing touchdown, which you're going to see in a second. I don't look at that as a culmination of the whole thing. Think of each one as an individual moment. And in your lifetime, you get these awesome moments to have. Yeah, sure, it didn't lead to the championship trophy, but it led to respect, and that was more important than anything else. So I hope that you, in your world, hold respect close to you. And the only way you're going to get it is if you deliver it first. And you realize that people who respect you are sensing the respect that you're giving them at the same time. Absolutely. One of the most important words in my life. And I want to give you a little bit more of a tidbit of this. That I've learned something in my life. That I have these positive values and negative values. And the positive values are these emotions that I feel that I really like. Then I have these negative emotions or values that I don't like. And the one that just crushes me and kills me and makes me angry and upset, it's a sense of disrespect. When I feel that someone is disrespecting me, and they truly are, because they're trying to take advantage of a situation or a situation that I'm in, I hate that. It drives me insane. It brings out the worst in me, and I've had to learn to control that throughout my lifetime. On the flip side, my number one positive emotion in life is love. I absolutely can't get enough of that emotion, love. And what I've realized is that every time I watch athletes, male, female, old, young, doesn't matter, when they compete and all the struggle and the pain of the competition leads to that ultimate respect of shaking hands and putting your arms around each other at the end, I always want to cry. I always feel this overwhelming sense of emotion. And it brings on a sense of something that I've just recently learned about. It brings that emotion of love back in. Love and respect in Peter Percuoco's world are really linked together. You disrespect me and I don't feel the love, I'm not going to be happy. But if I get respect, give respect, or I witness respect in other people, it makes me want to just feel emotionally amazing. The same thing that love makes me feel. So I hope that in your upcoming future, each day, that you respond to others with true respect, not trying to tear them down to build yourself up. We're all different. We all have gifts. But ultimately, respect is what we all need from each other, and we should give to each other. So I hope you like this one. I hope you like the video at the end. Feel free to subscribe, add any comments down below. And by the way, if you're watching my stuff on drpercuoco.com, that's cool. But once in a while, click on the video to shoot you over to YouTube so that you can communicate with the comments down below. Okay, so let me see. I want to say one other thing. I got an amazing new friend that I met 3 years ago. His name is Mike the Bald Adonis. By the way, this here is his shirt. Mike, thanks for the shirt, buddy. You the man. And all the other people out there who have been watching and giving comments, thank you so much. And even the ambulance driver that's going by right now, thanks for shutting off your sirens. I appreciate it. All right, listen. Get out there, keep the grind up, make sure love and respect are part of your daily vocabulary. And I'll see you next week.
Right when it appears that the momentum may begin to switch, Hudson comes back, led by Guarino and Hunter, their talented running backs.
1st and 10, just across midfield. Hunter, plenty of room. And look at that. He just pushed one of his linemen out of the way. Hunter's still on the move. What a block. What a block. Touchdown. Hudson. Unbelievable block down there. Let's get his number. Somebody threw one of the finest blocks you will ever see. I believe it was number 82, Mike Narnardowicz. A tremendous block to free him. You'll see it.
Here's the long stepping, high stepping Hunter. There's one of the blocks. Now he just moves Killerley right out of there. Now we'll watch 82 come in. Narnardowicz, there's the block. And Hunter was able just to turn on put it in low gear, and off he went.